So the theme that I set was really about reflection on the year, because it's been quite a year, hey? Like for most of us, come out, we've come out and we've had to realign, and now we're facing a lot of the consequences as well of 2 years of like lockdowns. So I know for those of you here in the UK, we've gone from the COVID crisis to the heating crisis and the this crisis and the that crisis. Everything's a crisis. And I'm sure every country is having their own version of that, whereby there's almost like a gathering so many resources. And it's an interesting duality, isn't it? Because we sat at home not really expending a lot of resources, but at the same time there was a lot of resources being expended. And then at the same time, now it's almost like we're coming back into us now starting to expend outwards our resources. But then there's this weird, so it's almost like a wave. If you imagine a wave coming in and out, it's that kind of feeling, or the breath coming in and then back out again. There's all this recalibration, except the breath is a 2-year holding. Does that make sense? So it just feels like this big gathering. And I think what we were saying earlier about the kind of the amount of energy going on at the moment is almost a reflection of the opposing force of being so quiet for a couple of years. And now that it's almost like, oh, that pent up energy is now all starting to flow out again. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's almost like, to put it into context, in terms of there's been, it's not like our normal in and out breath that we've been used to before all the lockdowns, because we come into the home, we go out the home, we come in to the country, we go out the country. You know, there's a rhythm to it that tends to be weeks or months or even days. And now suddenly we're talking years. So there's been this year of 2 years, actually, for many of us, of this pent up kind of non-movement, and then suddenly boom, it all starts to move again. And I think that's also an opportunity, you know. So I think part of the idea of reflecting is to look a bit longer term. So rather than looking at what's happening right now, what's happened last month, to actually extend it out into where were you? What was your thinking? What was your mentality? What were some of your belief systems maybe that was going on at the beginning of 2020, 2 years, and now? And I think that might be quite interesting, because then I think you might see, oh, actually there's been a lot of movement, or there's been a lot of growth that you might not have necessarily recognized in yourself or your family or even your country, right? The other thing that I wanted to chit chat about was this idea around beliefs, as part of the reflection. Hopefully, you've actually shifted a few of your belief patterns. And I know that one of the challenges really that is going on now, we were just talking about it at the beginning of the meeting, is how when we put too much focus on the external, in terms of what's going on politically, country-wise, you know, all the stuff that's happening, the predictions of what's coming, the fear of what's coming, we can get very, very sucked into a very low energy vibration. And one of the things that I'm finding really interesting, disconnecting from all that, because I've disconnected from the news, I've disconnected from, you know, I'm just sitting in beautiful countryside, and it's almost like none of that is happening. Now, for some people, they might think, well, that's just delusional, or that's just, you know, you're just kind of like running from things. But the reality is, as I sit here in my nature, you know, in this beautiful nature, and I can go out walking and there's still food in the supermarkets and all this kind of thing, my moment right here and now is just as perfect or imperfect, depending on how you think about it, as if there was no chaos going on externally, if that makes sense. So the only proof that there's chaos, or the only proof that there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of mess, is if I turn on the news. Apart from that, if I don't look at anything, there's actually nothing happening. So I also invite you to reflect on how much information you're being fed from the external, people you talk to, social media, news channels, all that kind of information flow, and really consider whether it's helpful or not. Because often people think, oh, I need to know what's going on so that I can what? And unless you are also a political leader who has to make certain decisions, most of us, honestly, are totally disconnected from the decision-making process anyway. So it's a complete waste of energy for us to be sitting there. And even honestly, even like signing the petition and whatever, it's all kind of just very, very wasted and dispersed energy. Whereas if you focus your energy internally, and really on the here and now of what's going on in your life right here, right now, you will find so many moments that you can be grateful for, or so many moments that actually are going really well. The fact that you can get up in the morning, maybe you have a certain practice, maybe you get to go and eat your favorite food later on, it's kind of like all that kind of thing. Go and see loved ones. We can start traveling again. I mean, there's actually a lot to be grateful for and thankful for. So I just put that out there as well, because it's very easy to get caught in what we think is going on. But honestly, truthfully, we don't know. And as soon as you turn it all off, it all disappears. So is it really happening or not in the way that we fear it is? So I don't know. I mean, I've been playing around a lot with belief systems these last couple of weeks, and just taking a good look at mine again. And so it's just one of those things. End of the year, why not start having a look at that kind of thing. So there's a question: if I feel the disruptive energy. Okay, so here's something that I've started doing that some of you might be like, especially if you've been following me for a couple of years. I've stopped believing in all this energy stuff. I'm just playing with it, okay? I'm not saying I'm not going to pick it up again, but part of the influence that I know I've been under is I follow a lot of these people who are like solar flares and incoming energy and blah 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 blah. And then I'm like, oh, do I feel that? And I actually paused a while ago, because I also noticed it's just ongoing. And before I paid attention to it, it was probably ongoing then as well. Like if I'd been following these people for years, they've probably been like, every full moon, every eclipse, every, whatever, for decades is my guess. But I haven't, because I only just started paying attention to it a couple of years ago. But what I noticed in those couple of years is it just is never ending. It's just a belief. It's just kind of like more and more and more and more. So I unplugged from all of that about a month ago. And so here's something that's quite interesting, is I've stopped feeling the energy. It just doesn't bother me anymore. I mean, if I have a bad night's sleep, I might look out and it might be a full moon and I might be like, okay, cool. But I'm just not paying it any more attention. And it's been very interesting. The less belief, the less energy I put into it, the less I get back. So this idea that there is this disruptive thing and there's, oh, we're all waking up and there's all this blah, blah, blah. Maybe, but I don't have to put so much energy and focus and belief into it. And then actually what I notice is that the peace is much, much easier to drop into, because I'm not being layered by all this barrier to peace. Because if you're reading a lot of stuff that says there's all this disruption and there's these massive energy pulses coming in and there's then how are you supposed to access peace if you believe that at the moment you're being bombarded by, you know, whatever you think you're being bombarded with? So that's just another thought. When I say take a look at your beliefs, you'll be quite shocked actually at how much of your life is, and how much of your thinking and how much of your reactions and responses to things is based on your belief systems. Here's the other interesting thing is it possible when we do our Reiki practice, and many of us come into this very quiet, peaceful place, and we've been saying this forever, right? That quiet, peaceful place is the true essence of our being, or the true essence of the universal life force, and it's all there. And then we dip in and out of it. But then as we come out of it, are you recognizing that the so-called coming out of it is simply putting on all our belief system jackets again, right? So, the world, so we're nice and peaceful, everything is perfect, like everything is beautiful, everything is timeless, everything is calm. And then, bing, the bell goes, we finish our Reiki practice, and we're like, right, put on the politics is crap jacket and the incoming energy jacket and this, and then we climb out of our practice through all of these belief structures that then dictate the way that we respond and the way that we feel the energy. So it's almost like we put on all of our luggage and baggage and crap again. And what if we just stopped doing that? If you just had your Reiki practice and then you just stopped your Reiki practice, but you didn't put on any of the beliefs that come with just your normal operating manual, it might just be something to play around with, you know? The Reiju essentially is a Reiki attunement. It's a heart opening attunement. And I really invite you to open to the possibility that you can just pull it in from everywhere. And we've been playing around with this a lot over the last couple of months, but just this idea, obviously, when I do the meditation instruction, I often open or invite you to imagine you're opening the crown chakra. But what I'd quite like to do today is a bit of an experiment, is imagine you're opening your all of your cellular structure so that the Reiki is coming in, and even questioning if it's coming in or if it's just is. Okay, so we're going to play around a little bit with suspending also our beliefs around the directionality of Reiki. Is it in? Is it out? Is it up? Is it down? What's going on? And actually just be with it and see for yourself how it feels. Maybe it does feel like it's coming in, or whatever. Maybe it feels like it's coming out. I mean, who knows, right? So we're going to play around with that a little bit. And after the attunement, we just do a little Reiki healing together. And the idea of that is just to kind of expand your awareness to everyone in the group and intend that there is a healing energy surrounding all of us, almost like sending Reiki to each other. Well, is sending Reiki to each other and vice versa. But also within this context of what does that even mean? Like, are we actually sending, or are we just holding space for all of us to be part of this universal life force? And I invite you all to just come into Gassho prayer pose. And that's just bringing your hands into prayer pose in front of your heart center. I always think it's good to have your feet flat on the floor. But at the same time, if you're sitting cross-legged, that's also fine. You're just focusing more on the root chakra, so the base of your spine. And we're just going to take a couple of breaths. And as you breathe, really notice the breath itself. So we're starting to drop our attention away from the mind. Almost like if you imagine your consciousness is in your brain or behind your eyes, that's how most of us feel it. You're just very gently letting it drop into the lungs, into the chest, as if you can see or feel the expansion of your breath in your chest. And there's a certain observing of the breath, but at the same time, there's a feeling of the chest expanding. So that you feel a bit more solid and centered in the body. And then we're going to invite the Reiki attunement. And as I said, just paying attention to any sensations. Where are they coming from? Perhaps you do feel them in your hands as your hands activate. And where is that coming from? Perhaps you just feel a sense of calm or groundedness. And then I'm going to invite you to place your hands, one over the heart center and the second hand just under the belly button, around the sacral. And deepening our connection with the body, you're breathing into the lower hand, breathing into the belly, all the way up into the chest. And then as you exhale, you're exhaling the chest first, and then just that little push of the diaphragm as you empty out the belly. And with every exhale, you allow your body just to sink, relax, lowering the shoulders, releasing the upper back, all the way down into the hips, the belly, relaxing all the muscles of the abdomen. Just taking a moment to really appreciate the breath, the way the body responds to the breath. Then bringing your attention to the hands. Perhaps there's some sensations, tingling, pulsing, heat. But even within those sensations, we might, with our eyes closed, have an idea that our hands are a certain shape, that the sensations therefore follow the hands and the shape of the hands. But just question this, feeling the sensations exactly as they are, without putting any other form, any other belief. So if you're feeling a sense of buzzing or heat, tingling, Just being with the sensation rather than the form of it. And shifting your awareness into the body itself, underneath the hands. You might notice slightly different sensations here. And again, just focused on the sensations itself as a formless experience. And then whenever you're ready, placing your hands wherever is comfortable, perhaps on your lap or around your belly. Perhaps you keep it exactly where it is. And sinking your attention all the way down to the feet. Noticing the feet on the floor. And seeing if you can extend that feeling all the way down to the ground, as if you're shooting out energetic anchors into the ground itself. Just seeing how that feels. Often we create visuals. We might see colors. We might even imagine an anchor. You're just seeing what's actually happening, if anything. And then with the breath, just very gently starting to extend the intention of Reiki throughout the whole group. Those on the call today, those listening later through time and space. Almost as if we're connecting in simply to the Reiki itself. And just by shifting your attention with the intention of Reiki and its healing qualities, you might notice a difference in the sensations in your body, in the environment, in your hands. Just being open to whatever is shifting or changing, if anything. Not by overthinking, but simply by opening. Opening to the Reiki frequency or idea of universal life force. And as you open, without trying to find anything, just simply opening. And seeing what arrives, or what changes, or what grows. without any expectation or judgment or grasping. As if you're breathing and relaxing into the energy, opening, surrendering to it. It's always here, never goes anywhere. You may become aware of a stillness, a silence, a certain level of awareness or presence. And allowing yourself to dissolve into that. So you become one, or it becomes you. This simple awareness of being. And you may become aware of this feeling all the way through your environment, not only within your body, but merging into the air around you. You could even bring your attention to your chair, the walls, the floor. See if there's any difference. Even the sounds. If you're noticing sensations, colors, see if you can become aware of what's underlying all of the sensations, the thoughts, any experience. Any sounds. And even in this meditation, you might notice thoughts coming in. Maybe you follow them. Maybe you catch yourself. And if you catch yourself, just notice how easy it is to let it go. And imagine if your whole day was like this. Every thought, just let it go. Beginning to discern the thoughts that are required and those that simply create noise, fear, a tendency to grasp or control. Bringing your attention back into the breath. And if you want to place your hands again on the heart center and the sacral under the belly button, starting to bring your breath and your awareness of the breath back into the belly, up into the chest. Re-energizing your body. On the exhale, letting go of anything. Whether it be tension, old patterns of thinking, and as you deepen the breath, you might notice the spine is moving slightly all the way up into the shoulders. Starting to bring your attention to the edges of your physical body, the edges of your skin, the top of your head, the shoulders, the back, the belly, all the way down the feet to the legs. Very gently wiggling your fingers, scrunching your toes, stretching your arms above your head, giving yourself a little wiggle all the way down the spine. And whenever you're ready, opening your eyes.